Hello, this is Paul. Welcome to lesson 2 and part 3. And today we're talking about properties on the desktop. One of the first things I do when I give away a computer is to go to this part of the computer and set up certain icons that should be displayed on the computer that the students in the room get accustomed to. When you get a computer, these icons might not be on the desktop for you to see. However, you will be able to turn them on and they will be accessible. We're going to get into that. And the first thing I want you to realize that your desktop don't have to look the same as when you first get it delivered. Every computer that I took out of the box, it had a logo on it of the company that I bought the computer from. The company, it represents the company, and even if I bought it from somebody that built a computer for me, it might be installed with their logo on it as well. Well, it don't have to stay that way. It can be changed, and that's what we're going to be getting into. And getting the appearance of the desktop to be working much better for you. The first thing I want you to realize is to get into the properties is to right click in an empty area of your desktop, just like we did before when we made a shortcut, but this time we're going to select the item on the bottom of the pop-up menu for properties. Once we get into properties, I want you to realize that there are different things to notice on there that is common to every window, and also what is common to various menus that you get into for setting things up on the computer. First of all, I want you to realize that the top, in this case, is blue bar. It has the name of what we are in. We're in desktop properties. And if you open a program, this is also going to reflect the program's name and the name of the application that you develop, whether if it's a letter or a spreadsheet or anything that you develop. It'll be up in the title bar, and you know what is one window to another. Now from this, you will also realize that over on the right hand side at the top, there are 3 boxes. The one with a underscore on it will enable you to lower that window and put it out of sight, but it is loaded on what is called the taskbar on the bottom of the screen. Now also the middle button will make it full screen or a reduced screen. Now take note that when it's in a reduced screen, it will take the shape of what you have originally or recently made it to be. It can be much smaller or it could be expanded, and we'll be getting into more about how to handle that at another time. But that size, when it's reduced, is anything but full screen. So another part is the X, which on this display, a red X will close that window without making any changes to the last time it was saved. In other words, that red X, it is red for a reason, and that is to get out of town without making any changes that you made to anything that you've been working on. So those are the 3 buttons at the top. We also have a location at the bottom where there is an OK button. The OK button will close a window, but it will save the most recent changes. So that's the difference between the two. You got the X at the top to close the window without saving changes, and you got the OK button on the bottom that will save the most current changes. Now, in addition to this, we also have what looks like little boxes or little items going across. If you have a picture in mind of a file folder, they are known to have a tab sticking out. Some of the file folders that you buy are uniform with all these tabs. It might go all the way across, or it might be incrementally going across the top, one little piece at a time. When this is very similar to that, where you have different tabs going across, and each time you use the mouse on any of the words on those tabs, you will be able to get a different view, and we're going to be looking at that as well. Now, also, I want you to realize that once you make changes, there is an apply button on the bottom. The apply button on the bottom allows you to save the changes that you made and be able to go ahead and do more changes that you're not finished with. However, when you use the X at the top, which is red in our display, it will leave, shut down that window and keep the last time you made saved what was done, and it'll revert back to that. Well, with that, we'd like to move on to our presentation and realize that when we click on one of these, if first thing we're going to do is go to the general appearance, which it opens on first, and take notice that this is basically what your desktop looks like, and you're able to make a pop down window arrow there and have a couple changes, but this is just general in form. When you go to other tabs, you'll be more specific as to what they look like. Now, the next tab over, take notice that it will show you what the desktop looks like. In other words, you're going to have a choice of what is called wallpaper, and wallpaper is what is displayed from your desktop, and how that's the only place where you'll see your wallpaper is on the desktop. And there are some very nice programs that will even make regular changes on your desktop that this wallpaper will not be the same all the time. Now, on the bottom, when I get a computer out to give to people, that button on the bottom is to display certain icons. And where I go into that, I click on with the left button of my mouse, and I turn on the basic icons to be displayed on the desktop. In other words, I'm going to turn on, if it's not on already, the recycle bin, or be able to get to my computer, or even network places. And sometimes there might be another button there that might be even for Internet Explorer. Different computers are different. And this listing is just a general list to be able to turn these buttons on and off. This will set the web page of choice here. We are able to download different choices of home pages on the web and be able to come up with what you would like to have. I've run into people that has had problems with this, and be able to get upset that every time they open the website, they get something they don't want. So that can be set up here. Now, when making a selection on the name that is called Screensaver, this is one of the essential parts of your computer. that is very necessary to set. This is, I'd like to tell you about one of my experiences in New Jersey. I haven't seen too much of this taking place, but there is a business in New Jersey that called me in to do some work on their computer. They wanted some extra, what they called pages, added to their program because what they had running was insufficient. Well, going in there, it was surprising to see what was on display. They had a general page that sat on the computer most of the day. This was a type of business that was for storage, and only a few people would come in a day. There might be, well, it's in general, it's not a whole lot of numbers of people coming in, and any given day. It was usually during the turn of warm and cold seasons. And what happens is that they had to have their computer on all the time, because when somebody would come in for what they have on storage, to locate it where it's, and be able to give it to them very quickly. Well, there was a couple customers that brought in more than what everybody else did, and for this reason they needed something that was going to accommodate for this. Well, not to get into how I made their software solution, but there was this opening page sitting there, and it burned in an image on the back and backside of the screen or the monitor, with which it was one that is called a CRT, or cathode ray tube. It's very similar to what the televisions used to be years ago, that they had a big tube going out the back, and these cathode rays would go forever unless something stopped them. In fact, projection TV will do the same thing. It'll project an image up on the wall, and it only has to be adjusted for its clarity. Well, what happens on these CRTs, they would hit a phosphorus backing, and the image would be reflected from that screen. Well, when it's one image that is not moving and is fixed in position most of the time, this image could be burned into that phosphorus backing. Once this takes place, it is necessary to get another monitor, or you just survive with a double image coming up on you with that opening image, and that is a ghost-like image over top of the work that you are working with. So it becomes very uncomfortable. For this reason, screensavers are used. Now, I was in a misconception where these flat screens prevent much of that happening because they don't have the cathode ray tubes. However, I did have somebody come in. Yes, a image was burned into a flat screen TV, and not a TV, but a flat screen monitor, because the image was sitting there over an extended period of time, and that problem still persists. For this reason, you need to turn on a screensaver. Now, in the properties menu here, there is an item across the top that is called screensaver. And the screensaver is set by using the left button on the name, and it'll bring up an image. It's got a small display of what your monitor looks like, but then take notice that your screensaver on the first item here might be set to none. Well, there is a drop-down arrow there, and there is a list of different screensavers that is available for you that came bundled with XP. Windows 7 has a much more graphical, much more animated, and they really work on these things in a big way. In fact, you're able to go on the web, and there's millions of screensavers that you can download from off the web of your choice. Many of them are free, and some of them you pay a small amount for. They're not very expensive. I haven't seen anything really expensive, but you know, when so many are free, why, it's worth going for. Now, once you select a screensaver of your choice, there are a couple things. You use the left button on your mouse to make your selection from that drop down arrow, and instead of none, it'll put in that choice. In most cases, it will display in that little box that represents the monitor to what that image may be. However, sometimes it might even say that image is not available. So there is a button to the right of those selections that says display, and when you press that button for display, it will show you full screen of what that screensaver looks like, and if you move your mouse, it'll cancel out that display. Now, another thing I want you to realize, that in the middle button there next to the arrow, just to the right of that arrow that we used, there is a setting for each and every screensaver, and every one of them are different. As we click on one of them here, we see that there is a selection for how you're able to adjust the speed. You might even adjust the lettering of display or turn certain items on or off. It's all different as you have different screensavers in there. You might want to try a couple of them just to see how different they are. And when you download something from off the web, those settings can either be more general or even more detailed for what it might be. So with that, we're going to move on to the bottom portion of the screensaver portion where power settings are. Now, power settings are set so that your machine doesn't sit there all day running. This is where there's a setting for the power for the monitor. And I was just informed not too long ago that when you get a flat screen monitor versus a CRT, there is quite a substantial savings in electricity, how much it costs to run that. And if it's on all the time and not doing anything, it's either in a screensaver or it's not doing anything, and you have a chance of burning that image into the computer. However, there is this power for the monitor to be shut down. If you use the down arrow key, you're able to adjust the time by selection for your monitor to automatically shut down to a very low power. It's still turned on, but it's a very low power, and it'll save electricity at the same time. Now, there are other settings on here, for example, for the hard drive. As you know, as a screensaver is running, the hard drive might be running as well with it, because everything is not loaded into your memory. So from time to time, it is reading your hard drive and it is being active. Now, as this is being active all the time, of course there are moving parts going on inside your hard drive, and if it's running all the time, it can wear out. I have an external hard drive that it took 10 years for it to wear out, but it did wear out, and it had to be replaced. So where this setting is here, you can have your hard drive shut down, that it will not be spinning, but it doesn't mean it can't be used. The only time that it will be used is the next time you move the mouse or be able to restart the computer, whatever the case may be. Now on the bottom of it is different standbys, and when they use a standby or hibernate, either one of them, your computer will turn off. It'll physically turn off, but every program that you've been working on will be active when you turn it back on, and you'll be right back to work where you walked away from. However, I'd like to mention one more thing about hibernation or being on standby. When it goes down in that mode, and there should be any updates being brought in by the web. By the way, those updates come in every second week from Microsoft to be able to improve the security or the operations of your computer that is connected with Windows. And the only time that these updates are installed is when you actually go to the Start menu and choose to turn it off or shut down, whatever the words may be. And when you shut it down properly like that, you'll get a message on the screen that says, do not turn your computer off. It will shut down automatically. And it has to go through that process. Otherwise, they're going to sit there and wait. I've had people not allow their computer to shut down properly that way. And what happens is those installations really added up. And I ran into one person where a couple hundred installations were on wait, and waiting for the opportunity to complete its action. And it took quite some time. Well, it's a good habit to turn off your computer in a traditional way. With laptops, it's easy just to close the lid, allow it to go into hibernation, and open it up and be back to work the way you were. However, things are still working in your laptop when you do that, and it's not really shut down at all. Next thing I want you to go over to is the appearance for different windows that open. This is the colors of the borders and the color of the top bar there, which I already identified as a title bar. Also, the appearance of having warning boxes or even action boxes that pop up. And these are a series of things that you can go ahead and have some experimentation to see how you want your computer to look. It don't have to stay the same color as you get it. Well, now, the last part I'd like to talk to you about is the appearance of the graphics card that goes to your monitor. Here we can adjust things to be a comfortable size on your screen, how much detail is in pictures, and how much we're going to be able to see on a single screen. I have a friend with macular degeneration, and she chooses to have her icons and everything at a little bit larger size than what is traditional, and it helps make her more comfortable to see what is on there. I'd like to touch base a little bit about screensavers again. I can't stress this enough. A screensaver, first of all, will save your computer from getting a burn-in. We already mentioned that. And we already mentioned how it can be burned in. But more important, a screensaver is good security. Your work is important to you, and it's nobody else's business. If you're working on a bank account or whatever it may be, it's not everybody's business of what your finances are like. And one thing I do want you to realize is that your security is that important. And on that screen there is a button that will make you put in a password when you turn on your computer, and be able to activate that for you to get back to your screen. If somebody comes in and sits down and is talking with you, and all at once you get up to give them a cup of coffee, they have nothing else to do but to look at your monitor and see what you're working on, and there is a leak right away. When you download some screensavers from the web, this feature will be able to be automatically activated by the pressing of a couple keys on your keyboard, which means instead of waiting for the traditional wait time that you have set, you can activate it right away and your security is intact. So there is several things that go on here concerning this area, that the desktop properties can be to your advantage, your security, and also be able to keep prying eyes from looking on from somebody who casually walks in and strikes up a conversation with you. So with that in mind, be sure to go into this section, check it out, try different things, see what you like, and make sure that you do set your wallpaper into activity. Finally, I want to go over briefly about the taskbar. The taskbar is on the bottom of the screen and is very common in Windows now. However, I remember before Windows was about, there was no taskbar and it was brand new. I just need to touch base on some of the basic operations, and I'm sure that it will be sufficient. The taskbar on the bottom, to start with, it is on the far left is the start button. The start button will allow you to gain access to all of the programs that are installed on your computer and be able to open it by a selection of your mouse. Next to that, there is a quick launch buttons that are there if it is turned on. And these quick launch buttons means that you have access to certain programs that you choose that will enable you to open a program from any location on your computer. You can be on the web and be able to touch off a quick launch button on the bottom with a single click instead of going to the desktop and having a double click to be able to do the same thing. So next to that, it starts with a string of open programs. When you have a program open, it will have a button on the bottom, and when you have it minimized, it will be on that taskbar as an open program or an open folder, whatever the case may be, and be able to select it as you wish. Now next to that, we have on the far right, we have the date and time. Now when you get your computer, you might have to set that date and time by right-clicking on it and be able to select the proper time zone you're in, and even might be necessary to set the accurate time at will. And then after that, why the computer will pick up the accurate time from the atomic clock. So it is a very reliable thing. Some displays might even show the date on there, and when there is a change in daylight savings time to whatever time zone that you might be in, then this will automatically change as well. It'll keep up with that. The next one I want to show you is right next, second from the right, is there are certain utilities running in the background of your computer when you first turn it on. And the icons for these utilities show up there. And if you right click on any one of them, you can shut any one of them down if you don't want them run. When you have a lot of utilities open at the same time, your computer will slow down when it first starts up. It will be not quite as fast when you turn your computer on. And if you want it to be up and running more quickly, you can disable some of these resources and have them available for the running of programs. Now, the next thing I want to show you is that more than one window is open using the same program. They will tend to stack. In other words, when you run out of room on that taskbar with the different windows that are open, it will either double row, form a double row if you have more programs that are open at the same time. However, when you have a lot of windows open using the same program and it runs out of room, they will stack. In other words, when you put your mouse on that button, you'll be able to see that stack and choose the view of your choice. However, I've seen people open the Internet Explorer several times, and it has gone to limits, and sometimes it is easy to close them all at one time. You can do this by right-clicking on that button, and there is a selection on that right click when the menu comes up to be able to close that program if it's singular, or be able to close a complete stack as necessary, and it'll close everything all at once. So being able to have more than one program open on your computer, it is the taskbar that enables you to go from one program to another very easily. Now, there is one more trick on the keyboard I want to tell you about, how to get the different programs or different views that you have open that is not necessarily in front of you. And that is on the keyboard. If you hold down the Alt key, ALT, it's right next to the space bar on either side of the space bar, ALT or alternate key, and press the Tab key will take you through a series of selections on the screen, and when you release the Alt key, it'll go to that view. So that is a shortcut to be able to get around on your computer. This is the end of lesson 2, and where we started off with general coverage of how to use your mouse. We're going to get into lesson 3 on the details of how to make that mouse be a little bit different in appearance and be able to operate at a way that is most comfortable for you. So there is a lot of information about the mouse in Lesson 3 that we were unable to cover when I made the general presentation for your mouse. Well, I have hope that you got something out of all of this. And if you want to make a comment to me, just press the button here and make your comments. Help me know what your interest is, and I can always develop this site that it will be able to cover things that is of your interest and not only of mine. Thank you, and be sure if you're in the area of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, stop into our classes on Wednesday or Thursday and be able to see what we're doing in the classroom. Thank you, and see you later.